It's crazy to think that 4 years ago, I sat in front of an open window and told the entire world my coming out story. It wasn't an easy thing to do. For a person like me who, although I do enjoy being the center of attention sometimes, telling the world about my sexual assault at 18, that resulted in me meeting my first girlfriend, only to find out that she knew about the assault the entire time and used that to get in my pants. Telling the world about my relationship with my father, or my lack of relationship, I should say, and how his infidelity caused me to never want to be married, and is probably one of the reasons why I ended up literally resenting my ex-wife to the point where I destroyed my marriage. The story about my mental health breakdown, my return to my mother and sister's front door begging for a place to stay, or how my sexuality has always been in question because people don't want to label me a lesbian because of who I've slept with over the years, but also don't want to call me straight because I prefer to be with women. This entire experience has been a blessing and a curse. I have been thanked. I have been applauded. I have been called brave. I have been called smart. I have been called inventive. I have been called 100 things. But at the end of the day, the one thing that has been unanimous is that Miss Erin Elizabeth is a slut. She's a liar. She's easy. She wants attention. And she couldn't possibly have had all of these things happen to her because she's not that interesting. And you know what? Since this is the final time that I will be cutting on this microphone and telling you guys an antidote about my life, all bets are off. All promises of respectability and privacy, all promises of never saying what actually happened, it's all off the table. Because this slut, this liar, is tired of being told who she is and what she is. The whole point of this series was for me to bare my soul to you guys and hope that someone out there could relate to what I'd been through. And while sure that has happened, and I have been so grateful and appreciative for the amount of people that have reached out to me and thanked me for my experiences and for having the guts to get on a platform every week and talk about some of the hardest experiences in my life because they couldn't do it. And to those people, I say thank you. Thank you for tuning in every week. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for commenting and sharing and for uplifting me in moments when I thought that I couldn't keep doing this. And to all of the people that thought that this entire thing was basically a love fest for myself, get ready. Because this last one, this one's a doozy. This is the one with the final goodbye. I have been on this platform for 4 years. I got the idea to do a series like this after my wife had started her series, Girl Chat. And at the end of the day, I decided that I wanted to be the author of my own story. People had a lot of opinions about me and her being on her podcast, talking about our sex life, talking about the different toys we used and things of that nature. When a lot of people asked me for my own opinions about certain things, I thought, well, why not? I mean, I could do it. My wife at the time was very supportive. She even taught me how to record episodes and how to get on here every week and do the thing I've been doing for the last 4 years. And so I did it. I got on this app and I started talking, and before I knew it, people listened. Some people listened because they cared. Some people listened because they were intrigued. And some people listened because they wanted to hear that one thing that I said that may or may not have been the accuracy that they wanted to hear so that they could call me a liar and label me something that I'm truly not, which is someone who needs to lie about the horrific fucking things that they have been through in order to get sympathy. I don't ask for sympathy for the things that I've gotten on here and shared. I don't ask for sympathy for being the survivor of rape. I do not ask for sympathy about being a domestic violence survivor. I do not ask for sympathy for being a person who has experienced a mental health breakdown. I do not ask for sympathy. I do not ask for your sorries or for your prayers and your good wishes. I genuinely did what I did by creating this series so that people like me, who never thought that they could be seen in the real world, a person who was questioning her sexuality as soon as 13, a person who never knew really why she never fit in with the other girls in her class, the person who always wanted more for herself but could never seem to figure it out, the person that wanted love so much but could never really find it. That's who I did this for. I did this for the person who didn't know what box to check when putting sexual orientation. It's like, I did this because I thought that there were people out there that might be able to relate to some of the stuff that I'd experienced. Family breaking up, a grandparent dying, losing their best friend, going through experiences, transitioning from high school to college to the real world, losing those friends that you held on to as a kid, experiencing a shift change when you get married and have a family, the transition even more so when you're basically being brought into a family that's already been made. The struggles of adapting to in-laws and family members and different experiences and different cultures that you may not understand. None of this was done as a way to sit there and make myself seem like some victim. If anything, it makes me seem like a real punk. Because if anyone recalls the one with my monster-in-law, I went into real detail about the excruciating things that I endured while living under my mother-in-law's roof throughout the course of my relationship. I talked about being accused of cheating and stealing and lying and abuse and molestation and a huge array of other accusations that were never in fact true. All the while still trying to beg this woman to treat me like a human being, and while also trying to keep my relationship going, because it's kind of hard to get cozy with your significant other when their mother is in the next room calling you a whore and a liar. It's kind of hard to become a step parent to two young boys that are supposed to admire you and look up to you and look at you as a person to respect when their grandmother is calling you a slut. It's really hard to maintain a relationship with your own mother when you can't even really spend any time with her because you're too busy babysitting the mother-in-law that you inherited, the mother-in-law that hates you, the mother-in-law that calls you names, the mother-in-law that would rather drink herself into a stupor than be an active member of society. I almost lost my entire family, my sisters and my mother, which are the only family that I really give a shit about, because I was too busy playing house in a situation and with a family that didn't like me or respect me at all. But because I refused to be on my own, because I refused to be single, because I refused to not be in a relationship, I allowed myself to stay with people that treated me like shit because I didn't want to be alone. And it's crazy because I'm always so much more productive when I'm alone. Take now, for example. I have been single since January 12th. I have been back with my mom and my sister and, rebuilding my life and starting a new job and, rebuilding my life and trying to regain some source of independence and, life, because I didn't really have one for the last 2 years. And in that time, I have managed to not only make really good friends and then lose them and fall in love again and then fuck all that to shit. And the only thing that I've been successfully able to do is actually get a job in the field that I wanted to do and slowly make my way up in that. I've attempted to make friends at work. I've even attempted to make friends outside of work, but none of that has really seemed to work for me. I feel like connections, friendships, love, and other connections for me are just not in the cards. Because I'm starting to realize that the one thing about me is that I'm so much better as a loner, but I hate to be alone. I'm so much better as an independent person, but I hate to have to do shit by myself. I hate sleeping by myself. I hate cooking by myself. I hate laughing by myself. I hate doing things by myself. But at the end of the day, I'm always a more productive person when I am alone. Because when I'm alone, no one can accuse me of being a liar. No one can accuse me of being a slut or a cheater. No one can accuse me of any number of things because I'm not with anyone. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not breaking any rules or any religious laws or any religious amenities. It's just me. And one of the reasons why I decided that I was going to close the chapter on this series and my other series as well is because I am so tired of defending myself. I'm so tired of posting episodes that are hilarious and eye-opening and heart-wrenching and having to go back, retract them, and tell everyone that they weren't in actuality the most, promising episode non because a stupid fucking person is so butthurt that they were betrayed in a non-great way that they don't want me to post their liking on the series. And it's basically as simple as, I know for a fact that I have been very questionable lately in my choices, that I've made some really shitty decisions. And the one that I would like very much to finally say out loud and admit to is the one that I turned around and said never actually happened. Back in, I want to say the beginning of May, I posted an episode that went semi-viral, and for all the wrong reasons. I posted an episode where I told the story about the woman who I had essentially cheated on my wife with when we were still together, and then chased after incessantly when I became single. This person was my friend, or so I thought, and the second that I was free and in the clear, I decided to rebuild our friendship. That friendship turned into something more, which turned into a semi-relationship that was all bullshit, because in actuality, she was just using me. And what was hilarious about the entire situation is that the entire time that we were building this heart-wrenching, beautiful relationship, she was cheating on her fiance with me. And yet, the person who was villainized and called a slut and a whore and a homewrecker, and the person who was called all of the horrible words in the book, was not the person who actually did something wrong, but rather me. And no, I'm not saying that I wasn't wrong. I was dead ass wrong to get involved with someone that had a partner. I was dead ass wrong. But however, let's review. I was made to believe that this relationship was dead in the water. I was made to believe that this couple did not love each other anymore, that they were really bad for each other, they had nothing in common, and that the person who I was very good friends with was very unhappy and miserable. I thought that I was doing her a favor. I thought that I was doing what I needed to do. I thought that the love that I had for this person as a friend was good enough to make up for the fact that she felt so unloved in her relationship. Look who got played. Because at the end of the day, I got left out in the cold. I no longer have the very good friend that I had. I got labeled a slut and a homewrecker. And the only plus side that came out of this entire experience was that my viewership on here went up, skyrocketed, like 5 million viewers. And as that couple is now back together, living together, and planning their dream wedding, I wish them nothing but the best. I also hope that the young woman who she's engaged to, that her podcast that she created to be a complete mirror of mine in an attempt to blacklist me in a way to make me sound like a horrible person, I hope that that podcast does amazingly well, sweetie. Because you're going to need a hobby. Because when your spouse isn't working herself to death or wishing that she was with someone else, you're going to need something to do to occupy your time. So good girl. Good job coming up with a little hobby, sweetie. It's great. And as long as you remember to update weekly, always keep your ideas fresh. And, since I won't be there anymore, there won't be any new content for you to listen to, base your next episode off of. I really hope that you can stay on as long as I was. But I digress. When I decided that I was going to end this series, I did it mostly because my mental health couldn't take it. I wanted to do this so that people could know that a person with a mental health issue can still live a pretty successful life. And for the most part, minus my romantic relationships, I do have a pretty successful life. I had a nervous breakdown. I'm on medication. I'm diagnosed. I'm working. I'm trying to build myself into some type of a real, success in the career that I've always wanted. My romantic life doesn't work for shit. But at the end of the day, I am kind of okay. But my mental health journey was one that also was kind of met with a lot of negativity because people didn't want me to go online and tell the world that I got diagnosed with bipolar as a result of a mental breakdown that I had while living in the house with my spouse, my stepchildren, and my mother-in-law. They didn't want me to tell the world that after my father-in-law passed away, who was probably the most amazing man that I've ever known in my entire life, when he passed away, my mental health went to shit. At the same time that he died, a family friend of mine lost her brother. My mother had a mild stroke, and I basically was completely outcasted by my entire family because I chose my wife and my kids over everything. I had a mental breakdown because at the end of the day, I wasn't needed in that family. And the family that did need me, I abandoned. I lost it. And I needed to completely start over because I came to the realization that the person that I married, the person that I wanted to be with for the rest of my life, didn't have the wherewithal, the ability to love someone who wasn't all the way there. She didn't have the wherewithal to handle what happens when you're in a relationship with someone. The reason why so many people don't know the actual truth about what happened to me in September of 2023 was because the actual story about what happened that day would probably make all of you want to go picket my mother-in-law's home. It would make you really question whether or not my spouse ever really loved me. It would actually have you question why a person like me that experienced all of this in a short order of time was still willing to go back for more. And the one thing that I've always tried to do with every episode that I post, everything that I've always tried to do was to always protect the people that I cared about. That's why I didn't tell the truth about my friend and her fiance and the mild love affair that me and her had over the course of like 2 months. It's why I didn't tell the truth. It's why I didn't tell the truth about what actually happened the day that I had my nervous breakdown. It's why I didn't tell the truth about the actual events that occurred the day that I decided to leave my wife. Because all the things that happened in those situations didn't make me out to be the bad guy, but rather somebody else. And the only thing that I've ever wanted to do was make everyone else not be the blame for my decisions. I always go out of my way to protect the people I care about, and I'm starting to realize that that doesn't do anything. So what I was hoping to do in this case was actually shed a little bit of light on what happened. For example, the day that I had my breakdown, my wife and I had been fighting all day. It had kind of been, the accumulation of several months of untold truths. And I had snapped. I'd lost my entire mind and I was acting like a raving lunatic. And when I was told by a medical professional to go seek help and go to a psychiatric facility for a psychiatric hold, I was sent there. And when it was time for me to be released into the care of the person who I was supposed to be with for the rest of my life, that person told me that they would not be there to get me, that they couldn't pick me up, that they would not be there, and that therefore I needed to be released to somebody else. And I ask all of you married folk out there, who in their right mind would stay in a relationship with a person who will not pick them up from the hospital if they ever got released? Who would want to be in a relationship with someone that was literally questioning the validity of a mental health breakdown? Who would want to stay with someone who thought that they made up a mental health breakdown for attention? That, on top of the polyamorous lifestyle that I did not necessarily want to have at that time, the continuous emotional, mental, and financial abuse that I was experiencing from my mother-in-law, to the atrocious ass behavior that I had to deal with from my wife's ex-husband, to the family, friends, cousins, relatives, ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, every fucking body that was basically attacking me as a human being. I mean, I'm asking all of you. People can sit here and say that I was a pussy and shouldn't have left, that I was a pussy and I should have stayed. But how much does anyone think a person can actually take? I had essentially lost my entire family over this relationship. I had nobody. My best friend died. My other best friend basically gave up on me because she said that I was basically throwing my life away. None of my other friends spoke to me because I was always canceling plans with them. And it's like I had nobody. And in that moment, I knew I had one choice to make. It was go home, it was stay home, or it was choose me. So in January, I packed my shit in a trash bag and a suitcase, and I started my life over again. Do I wish that I had given my wife another chance? Yeah. A chance to be a different version of herself? Yes. Do I sometimes regret leaving the kids? Absolutely. They were the best part of the entire deal. But I can honestly say that I do not regret putting my mental health first because it needs to be first. Because I'm not all the way right even now. I literally had a breakdown the last 2 days because over the course of this weekend, I have managed to lose friends that I thought I was going to have forever because they're disgusting, vile fucking people. And I also lost someone who I got really, really close to and built a real bond with. All because I was afraid to tell the truth. And the truth, honestly, will set you free. And that's what I'm doing today. It's what I'm doing by just releasing all of the negative energy that has been surrounding this series from day one and telling you guys that it is okay to say fuck their feelings and tell the truth. Like, I know for a fact that I'm going to get at least 5 or 6 text messages, phone calls, messages, whatever, the time that this episode drops. And when it does, and those people do want to reach out, I am more than willing to have the conversation. But again, this is my story. I have managed since April to attempt to get back out there in the real world and meet people, make friends, make connections. And the only thing that I've managed to do over the course of these last several months is make enemies, make haters, make 1 or 2 pretty decent human beings, and one person who managed to destroy me so much mentally by basically calling me white trash that actually made me want to delete this entire series off the web and just forget I ever did it. But I realized rather than delete 4 years of hard work and dedication, I decided I'm going to say fuck it. And I'm going to say that this woman who is a business owner in Philadelphia, who is a really, really talented person in all aspects of her career and all of her different entrepreneurships that she's in, that she is the real audience for this show. She is a woman who has been with men and women. She is a woman who has been to jail. She is a woman who has experienced several versions of oppression and animosity from the community. She's also a self-hating gay woman who would rather spew hatred at someone who stands firm in her sexuality, who stands firm in her mistakes, who stands firm in wanting to dress how the fuck she wants to dress. Whether I'm wearing a cami on TikTok, fucking booty shorts walking down the street, or wearing fucking slides and a fucking miniskirt driving down the block. This person is so full of hate, animosity, and distaste for a community that she benefits off of. Because, honey, no one in the world is ever going to want to deal with someone who hates themselves so much because they're a trifling, ugly, disgusting form of a person. No one's going to want to deal with that. So what you do is you find unsuspecting younger women, you bring them in, you make them think that they're your one and only, and what you do is you destroy them mentally and emotionally until they're nothing but your little silent minions that follow you around and tell you that you're beautiful and tell you that you're amazing and tell you that it's okay, that you're nothing but a fucking whore who used to sell pussy on the block back in the 80s, that couldn't get a real job, so you had to create all these other little businesses that actually make no fucking money, that you have to get online and bring people down for being firm in their stuff, that they love how they look because you're built like a deep breath that's about 4 feet tall. And the only thing that ever even interested me in you in the first place was the fact that you appeared to be the type of person that would never judge another person. And all you did was judge me from the rip. So honey, Ruby, baby girl, all bets are off, babe, because you will not be the one who brings me down. I've survived sexual assault, rape, domestic violence, an absentee parent, fucking awful ass living situations, fucking several bad relationship choices, a fucking mental health breakdown. The devil herself looked me in the eye and called me a liar and called me a thief. And I stood up and I survived all of that. And if you think that you're going to be the one to tear me down, you got another thing coming. Because Erin, Liz, Irina, whatever version of me that you know and love, the one thing I ain't never been is down for long. So as I sign off today for the final time with the one with, I just want to say one thing. This has been one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had. I've had the opportunity to speak to people in different communities and organizations that have found solace in what I've talked about. I was asked to speak at the mental health convention in New York next month. I've been asked to be an ambassador for the bipolar depression. I have even been asked to turn this entire series, the one with, into a live action series for YouTube. And honestly, I was debating not doing that because I didn't think it was fair of me to put people's likeness in a public forum. But now that I think about it, since everybody else already hates me, and I mean, everybody hates me, fuck it. Let's go. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been a blast to go down memory lane with all of you. And those who have supported me and have loved me despite everything that I've talked about on here, who's never changed their opinion of me, I'll love you forever. And to the people that have called me out my name, that have called me horrible, horrific things, I hope that every day for the rest of your life you stub your little toe on the end of your bed, and it's the metal bedpost, not the wood one. I hope that you can never find the match to your sock, that your one shoelace is always shorter than the other, and that every single time that you piss, it burns a little. This is Erin Elizabeth signing off for the final time on the final episode of one of the most insanely unimaginable real life accounts of a lesbian looking for love in all the wrong places.